Okay, my name is Lisa Petri. The proposed power plant would generate 900 to 1,000 megawatts of electricity from fossil fuels. That's more than 30 times as much energy as the Black Island wind farm, and about 25 times as much as our renewable energy must be, as much renewable energy as must be added to the grid each year under the Renewable Energy Growth Program. So if this power plant is built, it would dwarf those efforts and make them look like nothing more than window dressing. What's more, it'll make it utterly impossible to meet the ambitious goals of the Resilient Rhode Island Act of 2014, which was overwhelmingly passed by the Rhode Island legislature in 2014, and which was supposed to set the direction for our state's energy policy over the next several decades. It was supposed to be a blueprint for switching away from fossil fuels to renewables. If this power plant is built, the Resilient Rhode Island Act will be nothing but a well-intentioned piece of paper. And I have a handout. It's not just me that thinks that. Jerry Elmer, a senior attorney with the Conservation Law Foundation, published an article in the Providence Journal making this same point, and Professor Timmons Roberts at Brown University has said the same thing. He was one of the framers of the Resilient Rhode Island Act. I have extra copies of these if anybody would like to get one from me. And I'm sitting over there if you want to come and get one. I'll also try to put them on the table so you can get it on your way out. Okay, so furthermore, last December in Paris, world leaders agreed that in order to avoid truly catastrophic climate impacts, including a dramatic sea level rise that would engulf large portions of our ocean state, we need to keep total warming below 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius. That would take dramatic cuts in our greenhouse gas emissions starting now, not 10 years from now, not 30 or 40 years from now when this plant is retired, but now. Natural gas has been sold as a bridge fuel, quote unquote natural gas. And it does burn 50% cleaner than coal, but natural gas is mostly methane, a super potent greenhouse gas, 86 times as potent as carbon dioxide, and significant amounts of methane escape into the atmosphere during the extraction and transport of gas. No one knows exactly how much methane escapes, but if even 3% of the gas is leaked, and that's near the low end of the range, converting from coal or oil to quote-unquote natural gas actually worsens our climate impact and our risk of triggering runaway catastrophic global warming in the next 20 to 30 years. And that risk is already unacceptably high. For more on natural gas and its climate impacts, I have a handout from Cornell University. You can see I like handouts, and I'll try to leave that on the table outside as well. I'll also leave these for you folks on the stage. If this power plant, let's see, where was I? Sorry. We can't stop burning fossil fuels overnight. But we also can't afford to build a new fossil fuel infrastructure that would lock us into even greater dependence on fossil fuels for decades to come. In addition, as responsible citizens, I believe that all of us, including the people of Rhode Island, have an obligation to think about where our gas comes from and who's paying the price for that. This plant would entail an increase in Rhode Island's consumption of natural gas, which is no more natural than any other fossil fuel. And most of that increase would come from fracking. I don't have time to list all the harms of fracking, but I think most of us have heard about the horrors that our neighbors in Pennsylvania have been dealing with because of this highly unnatural process. If you're not familiar with those, you can watch the film Gasland or Groundswell Rising, or just Google it. Their water's been poisoned, their quality of life and their livelihoods have been destroyed, and many have lost their health and even their lives. Finally, this plant is not even needed, and it wouldn't significantly decrease electricity costs. Even without it, as others have pointed out, the recent ISO auction shows that we already have a surplus of electricity capacity. And I have another article from Jerry Elmer about making that point, showing that we don't need this plant, we can very well meet our electric needs without it, and already this region is on a par with the country in terms of electric prices, so it wouldn't significantly lower our energy bills either. The only good thing this plant would do is create a few jobs. But is that really an acceptable reason to build something that threatens our children's future?
You're a minute over to start.
Okay, I've just got like 2 or 3 more sentences. Prisons create jobs, wars create jobs, but we can create a lot more jobs per dollar spent by investing in renewable energy, about 2 to 4 times as many jobs. And those are good local jobs. Most of the jobs created by fossil fuel projects, including the compressor station expansion here in Burrillville, go to out-of-state workers. If we want a safe future for our children, we have to say no to all new fossil fuel infrastructure and yes to renewable energy and conservation. Thank you.